It's time for a little intellectual anarchy, where we engage in extreme truth, extreme common sense, and diversity of ideas. How's everyone doing today? Today I want to talk to you about something that's been on my mind since the ruling of Roe versus Wade. And it's about federalism. And I want to talk about how our forefathers knew or planned out how America works. Our forefathers knew that so many of us have different ideas, different value systems. And the only way we're going to get along is if we respect what each other values. But we knew, and our forefathers knew, that there was a limit to it. And the limit was always on the ending of freedom for individuals. So even though we had states pretty much write their own rule book, they were limited. Number one, freedom of speech, freedom to assembly, freedom to bear arms, freedom from illegal search and seizure, freedom to not incriminate yourself. All these laws were people-centric. And in those laws, we make sure that freedom is the highest priority. Now, Roe versus Wade ends one certain people's freedom to and allows other people a freedom from. A group of people want freedom from abortion, and the other group of people want freedom to abort. So in the Constitution, doesn't make it clear on those aspects. So they default to the states. And they knew, because if certain people came into your state and demanded from the federal government that you do something they like, when the majority of your citizens don't like it in that state, you want the right to limit it or open it up as a state. If the Constitution doesn't say anything about it, you want that freedom to do it. So for the longest time, Roe versus Wade was making states do something that it didn't want to do. It didn't want to have a company like Planned Parenthood come in, set up their shop, and the state said, we're not going to have that in our state. And by the federal government's decree says, well, you have to have let that people open that up in your state. So it took away the state's rights. And that was always bad law. It was always going to be shut down. And every constitutional scholar, liberal or conservative, knew that was going to happen. They were hoping they would let precedent that has been around for a while set. But the only problem was that there was no precedent for it before that. It was just a law that came in, and majority of Americans didn't like it. It went through, and they've been trying and waiting to put it down and to bring it into the state level. Now, it has happened. It got shot down. Now the states can do what they want, because there's nothing in the Constitution that says you can't have an abortion that makes it illegal. Now, some people will say, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We should preserve life. And I sort of agree with that argument. I don't know if it's going to hold up in court, but at the end of the day, the states should have the right whether they want that in their state. And the people in that state will have a right to vote. And then you're going to have to make a decision. You personally are going to have to make a decision whether you want to live in a state that doesn't hold the most important values that you have. And it's difficult for some people. Like me, I live in California. I've said this before. I live in California, and it holds about 99% of my values it does not respect or hold. But my family lives here, and my friends live here, and my wife family lives here, and she ain't leaving them, and the weather's awesome, and I like living near the beach without humidity. So I take a hit to the gut. I take an uppercut to the chin, self-imposed, because there are states right now that are voting and living according to my values. I could leave, and a lot of people have left. Majority of people have left because of, business reasons. They're more a friendly business environment. It is so hard in California to start a business. So many hoops you have to jump just to get started. It is really a state that's trying to prevent you, that put up so many blocks for you to open up a business. Why is that way? I don't know. I have an idea, but that's a whole other video. Hey everyone, it's James Salazar here. Just want to take a moment and tell you about some of my other shows, some of the resources I offer, and some free things I have for you. Number one, you're probably watching on one of my YouTube channels, the James Salazar Media YouTube channel, and some of my other shows are the Brightburn YouTube Academy, where we talk about what it means to be an entrepreneur and the mindsets that you need to follow through on what you're going to do. We talk about, in the Intellectual Anarchy, we talk about religion, philosophy, and politics, because I think they're inseparable from having a more powerful intellect and identity. We also have the James Salazar Media podcast right here, where we talk about politics, pop culture, and futurism. It's also a YouTube channel, and you can listen it on iTunes podcast. If you want to check out my coaching service, jamessalazarmedia.com. If you want to follow me on any social media, here's this QR code. Take a picture of that, and it should link you to all my social media accounts. And what I have for free is the Brightburn Society Facebook group, where we maximize your illumination by maximizing your human potential so people will see your light. It's a free Facebook group. Just answer the questions and join right in. I also have a free handout for you right here called How Can You Be Great at Everything You Do Blueprint. It's a free ebook. Just put your name and your email, and that will be sent right to you. It will all the links will be in the show notes of this video. So press like, press subscribe, get notified, press the notification, whatever you need to do to follow my content. I really appreciate your time. This is James Salazar signing out. So let me wrap this up for you. I know I've been babbling. Our forefathers knew for us how to get along, because so many people came from so many different cultures and so many different belief systems that they knew they were going to congregate. And they did, and they congregated, and those eventually became states. And those states were founded by certain groups of people, mostly religious reasons, but they came together, and they weren't pushing each other's ideas on each other. If you wanted to be there, if you wanted to stay there, you knew that this is the way the society goes. As long as none of those core principles that you hold violate the overarching core principle, the Constitution of the United States. And if nothing's been violated, and plenty of times there have been people, and there have been groups of people who have violated the Constitution, and the federal government had to step in. So, for you, someone who likes the right to have an abortion, or someone who hates it, and you live in a town, city, or state that allows it or prevents it, you're going to have to make a decision and migrate to the state that will hold your values. And this is how we get along. There'll be less fighting. There'll be less division because you are, people always make the stupid statement, oh, you're listening, you're in a vacuum of ideas and you don't hear any other form of ideas. And that's the way it's always been, right? Most people were stuck in the state or lived in the state, and those states, they all believed the same thing, and therefore there was harmony. When someone comes in and tries to live where you live and totally have different values and then tries to share them and then tries to do things, well, then conflict comes, right? Our forefathers knew that the United States of America, out of many different ideas, different religions, different people, we are one. That's the way it works. There's so many different belief systems, but at the end of the day, we come together in these core values called the Constitution of the United States. And they are solely giving power to the individual and lessening the power of the state. And there are some states where the people, through voting, want a stronger state, a stronger governmental presence, like California, New York. We saw that in the pandemic. Your rights were pretty much gone. Where places like Florida and Texas let you maintain your freedoms and had you personally responsible for whatever happened to you. So it didn't matter to Californians that Texans and Floridians did that because they didn't have to live with it. Because if you did that in California, you went into a place without a mask, everybody would kick you out. And you shouldn't have been surprised about it because you live in California. Look, I didn't believe in the masks in the sense that I didn't think it were helpful as they say it did. I know if I can smell someone farting, I knew COVID can get through this mask. It's just common sense, but it made people feel better. And I'm not about to make people feel uncomfortable because I chose to live in that state and I have to follow certain social rules, unspoken social rules, living there. And the same thing if someone who came from California walked into a Floridian supermarket and they started yelling at everybody to put on their mask, everybody was get the fuck out, right? Because that doesn't fly there. So you're going to have to move to a state where the things fly for you. It's the best way. Federalism is the best way, and we lost the way. We lost that way. And as we get back to it, and I know what you're thinking, what about slavery? Well, in the Constitution, once they put that all men are created equal, it was the death of slavery in our country. It was a constitutional right for freedom for everybody. And even though our forefathers knew that they needed those states who believed in slavery at the moment, they knew, especially Thomas Jefferson put that in there, that was going to be the death knell to slavery. And it was. We went to war with it We went to war over it. Many Americans died fighting to end it and fighting to preserve it. So there was a punishment and a sacrifice by the American people. And it was gone. That was a violation of the Constitution, already written in. So we had to fight it. We had to get rid of it. There was no justification for it in the Constitution. So once we got all our shit settled with England and Britain, it was eventually going to come down where we have to end it, and we did. So that's the difference. So from going here forward, you might be you might be climbing a long hill if you're in Florida and you want to, if you want abortions to be legal there. And let me tell you something about California. Very much third trimester abortions could be illegal in California because most people just don't know what that means. Watching visually what that means. When you can see a baby in 8 months or 7 months in the mother's womb, retract in pain because his arms are getting pulled off, his head's trying to be clipped off. People say, whoa, I don't believe in that. I don't like that. When they see it. And this will be the move for conservatives in California, not to ban the whole thing, is to get rid of third trimester, go down to second trimester, and I don't think ever the first trimester will end in California. But it is a fight to make. But know that it's an uphill battle living in California, being a conservative. I realize that. I don't act like a victim because of it. And same thing for people in Florida and in Texas. You're not a victim because your ass can move. This is James Salazar signing out of Intellectual Anarchy. Where's the end?